Hello, my name is Steve Bellamy. I'm an instructor of Shindo Masoryu Jojutsu in Nagoya, Japan. This video cast is part of an ongoing series of study casts designed to help martial arts students and particularly students of the Koryu Shindo Masoryu understand a little bit more about their art and a little bit more about the customs, traditions and rituals of Japan. Now today, like I did in a couple of other sessions, I've asked you a question. Here's the question. Have you heard the expression, the map is not the territory? Now you may have heard it, but perhaps it hasn't been too clear exactly what the meaning is. Well, it's an old-time NLP presupposition, which says you must not confuse the representation of something with the actual reality. Let me give you an example. Have you ever been to the restaurant and they give you the menu and you look down the menu and it's got either lists of foods or it's got numbers or it may have some photographs of the meals that they prepare and serve. And you go ahead and you choose one or you choose two. And then when the meal comes, it doesn't taste and doesn't look like anything you imagine. It doesn't actually have any connection with what you've just ordered. You confuse the representation with the reality. Or another example would be if your friend at work, he shows out a picture of his newborn baby or perhaps one of his kids and he says, what do you think? Well, of course you say, what a beautiful baby, or what a wonderful smart looking kid. Well, unless that baby happens to be 2 inches by 1 inch and about very, very, very thin, you're confusing the picture with the actual baby. The baby may be beautiful, it may not be. The photograph has nothing to do with it. You are complimenting a photograph, but you're not dealing with the actual reality. And this happens to be true in Shindo Masoryu. In Shindo Masoryu, the one half of the practice is done with a real weapon. You're practicing with a jo. But the other side is practicing with a bokuto, so-called tachi. It's not a real sword. It's a representation. It's a substitute. And many people forget that important point. And they practice, sometimes for years. Sometimes an entire year may go by, and all they ever do is practice against the bokuto. This produces bad habits, carelessness, and sometimes produces techniques which simply won't work. Because the bokuto is not a katana. And we have to be very, very sure that our techniques, as in using the jo, will work against a katana. They're never meant to be worked against a bokuto. We're just using a bokuto for safety and convenience and practicality. But the end result you have to have in mind is you're going to practice against a katana. And a katana doesn't move anything like a bokuto. The two are completely different. So you have to understand a little bit more about how a katana is used. And of course, handling a katana is entirely different to handling a bokuto. If you're handling a bokuto, it's a piece of wood. You just pick it up and you start practicing. Well, with a katana, you can't just do that. It will bite you if you do. A katana is an entirely different piece of work than a bokuto. And so we have some videos which introduce the handling of a katana. And the first thing you should do is simply know how do you set up to use a katana. We call this the buki-ho. And we have a video to show you that. Let's look at that right now. After the opening bow, we move from mokuto to teito. We then raise to keito and begin the process of placing the katana in the waist. We are moving towards taito. Notice that we bring the katana in and around on the left hip. Our next process is to attach the sage-o to the part of the hakama on the right hip. Once we have done that, we adjust the katana to be placed over on the left side. And there you have it. You see how the katana is held on one side, it's brought over to the other side, it is deliberately placed into the hakama. And did you notice, by the way, that the actual sword is not placed across and in front of the stomach, which is a typical iaido position? It's held way over on the left hip, where it would actually be in practical terms, where the katana would have been taken out. It's not an iaido sword, it's a katana to be used in actual practical practice against the jo. And you also saw how the sageo was attached and how the entire process was one of careful, considered action. You're dealing with a real blade, whereas a bokuto can be a completely easy thing to manipulate. A katana will always be saying, hey, be careful, this is a real blade. And along the lines of the previous couple of Studycasts, we've been talking about something, the kazari, the so-called opening ceremony of the different ryuha. We've already seen the ikkakuryu kazari, and at some point later on I'm going to show the other ones, but today I wanted to talk about the kasumi shintoryu, which is the kenjutsu of Shinto Mosoryu. Now, most people who get around to studying at the kasumi shintoryu level are practicing again with the bokuto, the tachi. And so many of their techniques they are used to and familiar with the practice opening ceremony done with a bokuto. It's different with a katana. So we have a video to show the entire properly formed, correct kazari as it should be done. As it should be done with a katana. We have that video, so let's look at that right now. And there you have it. So, today what have we done? We've learned that the map is not the territory. Many of the things we do in the martial arts are sometimes not connected to reality. Now, that's not a bad thing. It just means that we are simulating what we do to get ready for reality. But we as martial arts practitioners must always be super careful not to get stuck in that cycle of what I'm doing is the real thing. What I am now doing represents the real thing, but it's not. It's not the territory. It's not the real thing. You're simulating. You're practicing for safety and convenience, all of the other reasons which I mentioned before. But at some point, you must assume your practice of whatever martial it may be, whether it be a karate or a judo or an aikido, but in our cases, it's a stick and a sword. You have to take that next step. You have to raise your game and practice in a level of reality. And believe you me, that can be very, very surprising, possibly shocking, but you have to do it because you have to travel from the map to the territory. And I hope that was helpful for you. Once again, my name is Steve Bellamy. I'm an instructor of Shindo Mosoryu Jojutsu in Nagoya, Japan. I'm a member of the Musokan, a genuine Japanese iemoto dedicated to the teaching and practice of authentic Shindo Mosoryu Jojutsu. Once again, thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye-bye.